I actually have lived in rooms like that before. And I didn't actually mind it because I have to pee a lot in the middle of the night. Actually, I went recently. We get to do whatever we want, right? Yeah. We're doing whatever we want.
The last time I was here, it was lovely. And you had an installation here that I found extremely moving.
Cool story about that night. Somebody went into the elevator and they ripped everything down. It's Q-tip. Have you heard this?
I'm not sure.
It stands for quit taking it personally.
That's very charitable of you.
From peeve to proud.
From peeve to proud. Well, the thing is that I don't let anyone steal my joy. It's a personal policy.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Smart. Lauren, I really like about what you're wearing and what you often wear that you take up space.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
And the way you wear your hair.
I want it to be
Taking
loud.
space.
The way Dolly Parton says is the higher the hair, the closer to God. So I've never done something like this before, but just to have like 3 other humans in the room, but we're taking up like most of the space is almost like a role reversal situation in a way. As a femme, like it's very seldom that I would be in a room with like 3. How do you all identify?
I identify as dudish.
Dudish? Man-light?
I'm a man boy.
Yeah, dude can be a lot of things. It's like a perspective, And then what about you, Patrick? How are you? Who are you?
Childish. It's interesting that no one is really claiming manhood in this space. I'm a man.
Well,
I feel like we haven't had a really good example of masculinity.
No, you have abysmal examples. I can
So-
absolutely understand why you would not want to jump in that camp.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the camp needs you.
Well,
To,
we've talked about
yeah.
this. Yeah.
And you're all doing. I think you're all doing that actually. So thank you for that.
In
Thank
our
you for
own
being on the
way.
bleeding edge of manhood.
I'm
I am
worried. I'm
regularly
suddenly worried.
in male-dominated spaces through my work.
right.
Go on.
Quiet now.
Yeah.
This is a hard space.
I'm holding the flower, and there's a cat that I really want to make a cameo. Is that okay? This is one of my favorite cats on earth. This is Stella.
Whoa.
And Stella's a really
Whoa.
powerful woman. And the thing is that we were just talking, we had perfect timing,
She's
about how it's
beautiful.
really rare that, like, I would have, the microphone, and there would just be 3 men, like, very patiently listening to me.
We can talk about our feelings, and they're just going to sit there.
We can talk about like anything we want, which is
I
also
know.
kind of weird for me. It's exciting, but I almost like don't know what to do with the freedom because I'm so used to basically having people, especially. Hello.
Can you get her to talk a little bit in that mic?
Yeah. Would you like to say something? Would you like to be heard? You're really important. Hope you know.
Hear ya.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Thank you. No rules, Stella. You're a free agent. But this is kind of returning to like the very beginning of our conversation when you were saying that like it's cool to sometimes wear things that take up a lot of space. It's like a practice of taking up space. And I think both of us were really nervous coming here tonight because I've never tried to take up space in a specific way before. And it's not that like I feel really grateful for like the chance to do it, but I also just feel like that kind of sweaty anxiety of like, actually, this is a weird side note, but I had a parasite as a kid for many years. And so I didn't want to give it to my friends. And one of my friends had a pool. And so whenever I was having a hatch, I wouldn't go in their pool. So all my friends would be outside swimming, but I would just watch Oprah.
That's intense.
So yeah, I'm worm-free now if anyone's watching this.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations.
I got tested all negative.
No worms?
No worms. No
Congratulations.
teeny worm. Yeah, no, it was for an STI test.
Congrats.
Silly.
Congrats.
Thank you.
No, getting tested is really important.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
super important. I get tested between every partner.
Very smart. That's the way to do it. Hey, either of you, do you have a good primary care doctor?
I love my primary care doctor.
Hard
You
to
go
find
first.
a
You go
good
first.
primary care. What a nice sound. Yeah, that's lovely.
This is true.
Welcome to keep those.
Frances just texted me she's going to hump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's fifth wheeling her own evening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you never know. You might,
I mean, I personally love going to things alone or with couples because the couples are so busy like checking on each other. There's like, you can literally do whatever you want.
Hell yeah.
Whatever you want.
I go to places alone, but I will admit that I almost always have a book. And it's just like my little shield. And then I'm just reading alone wherever I am. And I try to also make myself available to other happenings. But I'll also just be really into my book.
I really love to read in public, but I've had this problem lately where a lot of the books I want to read, I like attract the wrong kind of conversation somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting because books, headphones, people don't try and talk through them, but for some reason books really invite people to have opinions and express them, which is curious because they are sort of like headphones in the sense that you're fully committed to, well, you know what I mean.
Well, I was following a person wearing headphones on the way here, and we were both wearing our headphones like 10 to 12 feet apart for like blocks. And we kept making the same turns, and I was like, I'm not following
Are you me?
And I was like dancing a little in my own little micro way while walking. And we kept like meeting up at a corner, and I wanted to be like, what are you listening to? Just to be like, you're jamming, I'm just curious. I am an offender.
But short and sweet,
Yes. And not asserting an opinion usually.
Yeah.
More just kind of like, oh, what are you enjoying?
Yeah, you're not like, why are people writing books about that? It's not even real.
Yeah, no. What? So, okay, you're clearly describing a certain book title.
Here's the thing, y'all, is that I love getting things out the trash, okay? And sometimes it gets me into trouble. But recently, out of a pile of like discarded things, I found this book, and it's really good. I just finished it. It's called The Other Madisons. Have you heard of this? Probably not, because it doesn't even come out until March of 2020. It was like a pre-published
Yeah, it was a press reader.
copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a press reader, which I didn't even know was a thing. But I read it, and I feel like this country is really filled with people who feel like I'm from like the deep South. I'm from South Carolina.
Wow.
And I feel like a lot of people that I interact with there are like, don't mess with history. And it's like, well, actually, like, this is just a huge part of history that like literally hasn't been told yet.
Wow.
And it's, I think, a controversial topic for a lot of people because they're like, you're just trying to tear down our heroes. But it's like, no, we're just literally telling you the story that you haven't wanted to look at for your entire life. And it's so important because like, if those stories don't get told, then there's a lot of minimizing of what's still happening. It's interesting that I feel like when I read a book that's more towards history or like has a lens of like feminist history especially, I get a lot of reactions. I actually had a gentleman ask me my age. I'm 30 years old, but I was reading I think it was that book, have you heard of this one? It's called Caliban and the Witch. He was making the comment that like I had like that I obviously like have everything that I need as like a person now. So like, why am I reading about this history of
oh my God,
when we were being mistreated in these different ways? But what was ironic about it was that he wanted to know like immediately if I had kids, and I was like, no, I'm unwed. No children. And he was like, well, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 30. And then he said, it's too late for you anyways. And his wife showed up, and she was like, what? Really used to, I think, being in the situation where she walked up to something that he said that was horrible, but like just felt bad and didn't have any context for how to proceed.
Oh my gosh.
How'd you respond to that?
How did I respond to it? I said, well, I appreciate your perspective, but my happily ever after is actually adopting a senior dog, which is the truth.
You are too kind. Can we all take a deep breath?
Hold it at the top.
In the apocalypse, very valuable.
Right. My job title is greeter, so I have a feeling even during the apocalypse, I could still be like, welcome to our game.
To this shanty town.
Do you need to know where the hole is? It's that way. That's like 50% of my job. It's like really people have to go to the bathroom really bad and they need to find it.
Yeah, that's
ASAP.
important. That's a valuable skill, and stripping it up a level, the social skills generally will take you far in the apocalypse. I'm certain of it.
But I'm celiac, so like I'm ready to go first. You guys can eat me if you need to. Can you imagine?
Okay, so hot take about
Here we go.
Oh, this is gonna be bad.
economy situation. I feel like part of the reason why I am willing to accept the labor squeeze that we've been undergoing for 40 years is because if we had a real workers' rights revolution that increased our purchasing capacity, given our current infrastructure, it would be disastrous. Unless,
Yeah, no, I mean, if it just is funneled into existing consumer habits,
oh God,
not
that would
good.
be awful.
Not good. No,
And-
it needs
and
to,
that-
because it needs to be a bigger revolution than that, right? It needs to be bigger than where it needs to be like value system,
Yeah.
like where are we putting our resources? I think there's so much opportunity there and so much interest, and it's not a unified, organized concept that anybody's. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
It gets a little weird because then you're faced with this situation of women being the new man, which I've seen happen with plenty of people who occupy positions of power and act the
Right.
same way.
That's because they're women, not necessarily like super radical feminist women, right?
Yeah.
It's not really about just women. It's about like feminist politics.
But for me, what it really comes back to is that, like, I just think we really need access to birth control and childcare.
Fuck yeah.
For people of all genders to actually be able to exercise their civic power. I don't have any children, and I had an abortion 10 years ago, and I literally had to have it because the doctor who prescribed me antibiotics didn't tell me it would fuck with my contraceptives.
Oh my gosh.
And like at the time, I was living on the West Coast, but I'm from South Carolina, so I was back there for a break, and they make you run through all these hoops, you know. You have to like go look at an ultrasound, like wait 3 days, and like, you know, like do a special handshake, and then maybe they'll give it to you. And it's really
Ridiculous.
degrading, and it's really time consuming.
It's incredibly important because I feel like it's really easy to become so narrow in our perspectives. And like, I feel so lucky that I'm not a mother. I feel just like the fact that that's an option for me at the, like
huge.
being 32, almost 33, that like many women throughout history at my age would have already been a parent. And even though that's like, it looks like a beautiful experience and I'm not like opposed to it as a concept,
Right.
I'm just like the fact that I get to experience all the things that I get to experience because I'm not.
How about the future where the burden of childcare is like not, it still allows you to experience all of the things that you
Beautiful.
have experienced.
Sign me up.
Yeah, how do we get there? Because
Well,
Co-housing. we have to share responsibilities and spaces and duty. Like we can spread that around so much more. I love kids. I would love to hang out with kids more than I do, but I don't want to have 1 to 2 kids who are entirely dependent on
hours a
just
day.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what humans were more like when we were tribal and we were more like
intergenerational.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It
Right.
takes a village.
It does.
Why aren't we doing that
I know.
anymore?
Because our apartments are set up to put us all in these little boxes and we don't have communal spaces. We don't trust each other because we're not close with our neighbors. My neighbors will not make eye contact with me for the most part. Like
you a bad bitch.
80%.
Got to get to know your neighbors.
I try. So I do the like, I'm available for eye contact kind of thing. And like, I just do not get many takers. And I find it to be alienating. I want to have relationships with the people that I interact with.
Where do you
Please.
work? You mentioned you work for the government.
Yeah, I work for, I work for local government, a city south of Seattle in South King County.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can't say.
I mean, I could say it. I work for Kent, Washington. I just like, I have a little bit of a separation in my personal life between my professional life.
wonderful.
And part of that's part of why I go by initials, is just to give myself the creative freedom to not have my personal endeavors reflect on the organization that I work for, which it's real different in South County.
I mean, the performances I've seen you do at Shit Gold, I feel like they are really raw and emotional.
They're very vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable, absolutely. And
But
you
it
feel like that
it's like a
doesn't fulfill
vulnerable.
that?
It's. I don't want to say it's performative vulnerability because it is real, but it's a type of vulnerability that I'm very practiced at, not in my work, but like in my social relationships otherwise. I'm intensely self-reflective and I am an intensely verbal person. And so I'm constantly talking about the kinds of self-reflections I'm doing just with my friends. So I feel like it's an extension of that, which is great and valuable. And I don't want to like downgrade what I'm doing there because it's a huge step for me to be doing that. And like I identified a year ago that I wanted to do something. And the fact that I've like been consistently producing this, I feel like really proud of myself for. And I don't want to get stuck in the I can performatively find something to talk about that's vulnerable and introspective, like all fucking day. Like I've got infinite content that I could manifest.
The next
there.
step then? Like, do you just do one of your dances at work instead of like giving your super dry thing? You just start being like, and I did something. That's me doing a terrible impression of your beautiful work, but
I really like that impression. I have occasionally done handstands at work, not in front of council, but just like in the office. I'm just like, I have a body, I'm bringing it here, like it's real, and I do, when I'm excited, I do dance moves. I can't help it. So when I've gotten grants, so sometimes I've been like looping all my way through the office, like, guys, we got $100,000, and that's great. I like being, I'm so lucky to work somewhere that like supports me and supports my, shall we say, idiosyncrasies or atypical office behavior, which I have a lot of.
Sometimes.
Please see my forthcoming piece at The Urbanist about this topic.
Whoa, really? I can't wait.
Yeah, I wrote a couple words about this whole thing.
This whole thing.
Trying to navigate each other in an urban space. It's just like
a power struggle.
It's an opportunity to care for each other, and instead we don't. Instead we like offset that care to the traffic signals and then put our headphones in and ignore each other. And I'm just like, this is an opportunity for interaction. We're all so lonely. Like, why do we not take these opportunities?
I've tried bringing this up in various situations. When you say lonely, we're surrounded in a room, we're bouncing off of people all the time, but I'm not saying that we're not with people. I'm saying we're lonely. Maybe I need a better word to try and spark this conversation because it doesn't seem to be landing.
Yeah, we're fearful of being vulnerable, and loneliness is a vulnerability.
I think loneliness is the perfect word. Yeah. And in England, they assigned their very first minister of loneliness last year because it's an epidemic.
It's real.
And I think that we are very much like, as adults, I think our main coping strategy is to consume media, whether that's like on our phone or like going home and just getting to like
putting on Star
watch
Trek.
something. And like, I get that. There's not that deeper connection happening.
Yeah.
I have a hard time separating that from physicality too, because I think you're, I believe, in a relationship of a type.
I'm in a relationship after a very long drought.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Coming at you.
And so I don't know if this resonates for you, but I just find that I have a variety of supportive and positive relationships in my life, but most of them are not based on touching in any way.
Right.
And you might give like hug hello, hug goodbye, but I feel like we evolved to just touch each other way more than that. And so for me, the amount of connection is like, it might be like there's emotional depth, but there are other kinds of depth as well. Right. And just the casual familiarity of people to just, I don't know. I feel like that's a type of loneliness that could be unseen if you're a very social person and you have lots of friends and you go do things all the time. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like getting all of those layers of need met.
So do you ever cuddle with your friends?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And you have a dog, so that helps a lot.
Yes. A heat source, warm, fuzzy, so delightful.
What kind of dog do you have and what's its name?
What's that?
What kind of dog? What kind of dog do you have? And
my dog's a miniature pinscher mix, and I was going to bring her this evening because she's a delight. Yeah.
Next time.
Her name is Esme. I bet as a puppy she probably had like a tiny little head with giant ears. It would have been amazing. Min pins are full of surprises.
I love min pin as a little abbreviation.
Oh yeah, they're cuties. She's a really non-standard one. She's like way bigger than they usually are. She's like 18 pounds. She's just like this little like giraffe Doberman thing. It's adorable.
Love it. I want a dog so bad.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful dogs.
My first dog was a Doberman Pinscher.
Really?
Named Ruger. Name of a gun, also, of my first dog.
Okay.
We're having a little interlude here with Patrick while Lauren sees herself to her car.
That I've enjoyed sitting on the sidelines and listening to the conversation. could stay awake just to hear you breathing.
Holiday Night Market. December 7th. That's going to be a tight
Noted.
thing, too.
Yeah, do you think you're going to make it?
Probably.
Probably.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I throw fruit at you while you talk?
Please do.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to pay attention to it, so I'm
Okay,
just going to
it'll come when you least expect it. What else is new with you?
Well, so I got it. The other
Wow.
great thing that's happening is this Ballard situation is happening, and it's this benefit that's for businesses that are affected by the construction that is fucking up the market straight. And so all these mom and pops and small businesses are just heavily affected by it. And the Nordic Heritage Museum actually gave their space.
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space, and it's huge, and it has all these theatrical lights and these dangling Edison bulbs. And so I'm having a couple of friends and I are playing, and so me, Sarah, and Ian are playing. These three people, we have all played here for the Sit Down, Be Quiet, and Just Be. And it's going to be amazing.
Sweat.
December 1st.
Tickets are $20, right? That's
Yeah.
not so bad.
Yeah. That's pretty much what's new with me.
All right.
Okay.
Any last words from Erwin and final moments? Any thoughts?
Pressure's on.
Any thoughts about what struck out at you that you'd really like to see, or anything you'd like to see?
No, I leave it to you.
Really? Just entirely? Nothing, no topic of conversation that you...
Would you guys be willing to take a minute with me and just send some love to my grandpa's
I would absolutely love
my
to.
grandpa's spirit?
Yeah.
His name is Ray Simon, and he had no middle initial. And he is a delightful person who played piano and sang just for fun all the time, and was a really big goof. He was really goofy. I think I got my goofiness from him. So I'm just gonna take a minute and close my eyes if you guys would join me. Thanks.